Alright guys, welcome back to another Master and Apprentice video and podcast. As you guys can see today, we're going to be talking about Invincible Season 4. Unfortunately, right off the top, compared to our previous reviews of Invincible, we usually have a guest, or at the very least it's me and Afton. As you can see, it's just me today. Afton is busy overseas, he can't be here, he can't make time. Been very busy, but I did get his review in text. I'm going to go over it, give my commentary, all that stuff. So we are going to get his opinion, we're going to get his review. Can't miss, my co-host loves Invincible, it's probably his favorite TV show. So yeah, with all that being said, we'll get right into it. I think right off the start, he liked it a little bit more than I did, but we'll get right into it. So yeah, he says Thrag was well done. People say they don't like the way his voice sounds. It's from a comic. His presence is intimidating enough if you don't like his voices. And he's talking about, Thrag. A lot of people didn't, for some reason, like the voice acting of Thrag. They thought it wasn't as intimidating, or I don't know if they wanted deeper, more like Conquest. Me personally, I think it works. I thought it sounded just fine. I thought he sounded more powerful and more intimidating, and looked the part too in this compared to the comic, right? That's just my personal opinion. But overall, I thought he looked just fine, worked just fine. I don't really get that, the whole idea of people not liking the way he sounds is subjective. If you've read the comic, it's in your head. Your imagination is what you control. But I don't know, it's just weird to say that out loud. Like, I don't like the way he sounds. It's like, I don't know, it's weird to me. But to each their own. Afton didn't mind it. He liked it. Afton also said, I like how Omni-Man didn't get a full quick redemption. Seems like if they did that, it'd be very basic plot point. But he's only just been forgiving himself. So I really like how the rest of the planet has yet to. And this is also something I liked. Comparative to the comic, I think Nolan's kind of forgiven quickly. And it works in the comic, but you do kind of, at least when I was reading, I was like, they didn't really seem to mind too much. They just kind of seemed to forgive him quick. Both Oliver, especially Debbie, a lot of the characters in the comic just kind of get past it for Nolan. And I do like that kind of stark contrast in the show that's like, no, he really has to earn this. He has to go down this path of redemption before people can finally forgive him. I think it's a really great change. I think, A, obviously it's a lot more believable, a lot more realistic, but B, I think there's a lot of good storytelling to be, derived from that narrative. So overall, I like that change too, and I think it's making Nolan's character a lot more interesting. He's come to be one of my favorite characters from this series. He was really cool in the comic, but like he played more of a plot point in a character than he did an actual character with story foundation. Very big difference in the show, at least from my point of view. Afton says Conquest Return was fire. Everything about the episode was awesome. Mark should have questioned Cecil about it though as soon as he returned to Earth, in his opinion, but it is what it is. And I agree. I think the Conquest fight, V2 was spectacular. Everything to the bitter end was just awesome. I gotta say, it is kind of interesting. Mark doesn't mention it. He's sitting in Cecil's office, doesn't even seem bothered, doesn't mention it. I think we'll probably see something going forward. I think Mark's obviously in distress, got a lot going on at the end of season 4 that he's not worried about Conquest at this point. It's been months, right, since he's had that fight. It's not at the top of his mind. I think they will address it later on. It is, I think one of those scenes that's going to be like super memorable for a specific reason for a lot of fans though. I think the Conquest fight and the character is going to go down for a lot of fans for whatever reason, but it's going to be very fun. I know it's a comic TV show and nothing's real, but what is the power scaling of Tech Jacket? She beats Mustache Mark, supposed to be one of the strongest variants, and now she can't even hold her own against Viltrumite, much less kill one. Now this is a big one, and I'm in the same, most of this I'm in the same boat with Afton. But yeah, the power scaling for Tech Jacket seems just weird, and I gotta mention, it just seems contrived. You change her to a girl, and I didn't have a problem with it when they first introduced her in season 4. Like, okay, she seems cool. She seems like a cool character. I could kind of see why they might have done it at some points. But then every time she's part of the Viltrumite War or any fight scene, it just doesn't seem like she's supposed to be there, right? She holds her own against a half Viltrumite, if you will, nonetheless kills him, but now can't even defend herself against any Viltrumite. It just seems odd, the power scaling for Tech Jacket. Again, you change her to a girl, you make her less powerful. It just seems weird. Like, what? I don't know. I don't know if that's on purpose, if they just didn't realize that's what they did. In the comic, Tech Jacket isn't like Alan, isn't like Mark, but like he holds his own, even to the point where like he's a threat. Like, they do need to take care of him. Whereas now it's like they don't really look at Tech Jacket. It's more of a nuisance. So it's just a weird difference from the comic to the show. The power scaling difference is just interesting. That's how they chose it. And like I said, changing the character to a girl seems fine, but like we have yet to see a reason. And so far, if anything, it seems like it's negatively impacting the character, because now all of a sudden that we know she's a girl, she's all of a sudden less powerful. I don't think that's what they're trying to portray, but if you think about it, you can't help but notice that. So very interesting. That is kind of a weird, I wouldn't say necessarily negative, but it is a weird take on the character. Afton is a huge Alan fan, so I've heard him say it's his favorite character, but he said, I wish Alan got the crap beat out of him again, so he got bigger, but it is what it is. Afton loves Alan. I think he's excited to see him become super powerful, because the way Alan works is the more he gets damaged and the more he heals, he recovers stronger than he did before. And in the comic, Alan becomes like really, really powerful to the point where like he's able to take on Nolan, take on Invincible. So I think it would have been cool to see something like that, him get upgraded again. But like, I think he's powerful enough. In my personal opinion, he's holding his own against Viltrumites pretty well. He's not slaughtering them, but like he's not falling behind like someone like Tech Jacket is, right? So I think it's just Afton's personal opinion. He loves the character, so you can't blame him. Athens says, I wish episode 4 had some actual plot points or implications, but I guess they did kind of set up Damien Darkblood for the next season, so it's not for nothing. And what he's talking about is episode 4, where Mark goes down to hell, teams up with Satan, fights that magma lady. That's all original material by Robert Kirkman, the creator of Invincible. I think he's like a show writer or producer or something like that. He's not necessarily writing every episode, but that episode he specifically did write. I think it was an interview or press conference or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he had mentioned that was material that he never put in the comic that he would have liked to. It was material he held out. And so I think a lot of fans were expecting more from this. It didn't seem like, I don't think anyone said it was bad, at least not from what I seen online. Even in my opinion, I thought it was cool. It kind of gave me like Doom, like the video game Doom, fighting demons, heavy metal music, kind of gave me some of those vibes. But like out of the whole season, it just seemed very out of place. I think the season flows fluidly, it works very well, except episode 4 just seems kind of put there. I think Athen mentioned it, like he said, I think it's going to imply some plot story points going forward in the future, but for this season it just seemed very interjected, out of place, and I would agree with that. There were some cool things. I don't think it was bad, it just seemed out of place, right? And as a showrunner or director, that's your whole job, is to make sure everything runs smoothly. They didn't do that great of a job with that episode, because it just, again, seemed very interjected into the middle of the season. Again, I didn't mind it, but it did seem kind of weirdly put there. After says, overall, great season though. Animation is great. Maybe it could be better, but if it stays as good as it was this season for the next ones, I'm happy with that. Can't wait for next season. This episode 8 implications are fire. So Afton overall really, really liked it. It's something that I think he doesn't really care about as much as me, is the animation. I think season 3 animation is still not very good, not good enough. Or season 4, sorry. I think season 3 had better animation, especially at the end, than anything season 4 had to offer. There were some cool things, right? The fight with Thrag, even the fight with Conquest. There were some cool scenes, but like the finale of season 3 and even the Invincible War, I think were all animated better than almost all of season 4, and that takes a huge point away for me. I loved season 4. I just think the animation pulls it behind a little bit for me. I think all of the fights in this overall series are the best in season 4. The Thrag fight, the Viltrumites attacking Thraxia or whatever it is, the home world of the Coalition, episode 5 or 6, whatever it is, with Conquest, the Hell fights, even Dinosaurus, a lot of really, really cool fights. But again, it just seems like they could have all even been better, in my opinion, if the animation was better. And so, you don't want to, as a fan, be, thinking, oh, they could have done a little bit better. You want to be like, wow, this was so good. I never even thought of it. And so, it's not that it's bad. I don't think it's so bad that it holds it back. But I think you should be getting better. And that even Robert Kirkman mentioned that, like, these animators are kind of new at the game, but as they go on and season after season, their animation's only going to get better. I didn't really see that for this season. I didn't think it was worse, but I didn't think it was better. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting improvement. I'm expecting the best of the best. As a multi-million-dollar project, it shouldn't be lacking in animation. That should be the least of the problems for this show. So that takes it down a huge point. But overall, besides that, there's not anything else I didn't dislike. The power scaling, again, for some characters, especially Tack Jacket, seems very weird. The Hell episode seems very weird, but everything else, loved. I love Thrag. Thrag got upgraded in the show. He is not this powerful in the comic. He's very powerful, but he's not like air bending Nolan into punches and just like moving like he's the Flash out of punches. Like, he's not doing that in the comic. He's not just like aura mogging these characters, and he's doing it in the show, and I think it's cool. Some fans don't like it. They're like, how is anyone ever going to beat this guy? I think that's the whole point. He's supposed to seem impossible to even come against. But, I think that's the whole idea of Mark having to build up even more, right? We've seen Mark upgrade a lot. Some of the points people don't like in the past seasons was Mark has a lot of experience, but he's still getting beaten down by just the basic Viltrumites. We're not saying that anymore. He's holding his own against everything thrown at him. Some struggle more with, like Conquest, but, like, he's still winning these fights. But then comes along Thrag, and he's supposed to be that next impossible challenge. And I think I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love the end of season 8. Some fans think it's a little bit anticlimactic. I think it works perfectly. I'm super excited. I love the robot and monster girl side story we're going to be getting. If you know anything about the comics, you kind of know what that leads into for robot story. I'm super excited to see where we go going forward. I love to see Nolan and his progression as a character. Like I said a little bit earlier in this review, I think Nolan's become one of my favorite characters in the series overall. So overall, I think the series is in a good place. I don't think it's worse off than where season 3 left off. I don't think it's necessarily better, because again, I mentioned the animation. That's just my personal opinion. For instance, I think Athen says his overall review is a 9 out of 10. He loved it. I think this is his favorite season, he said. But he says his favorite behind season 3. He thinks season 1's up there as well, but it's one of his favorite. I think this series is his overall favorite series. For me, I think this is like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. Like, I think it's a great season. I don't know if it's the best. I think it's kind of comparative to season 1 and 3. I don't think it's better. So it kind of depends on where you like it. But I think most fans agree. Not necessarily a downgrade, where it's like season 2 is a downgrade from season 1. So at the very least, we're not in a downward trajectory, and I think that's acceptable. I think that's okay. We're supposed to be getting the next season around the same time from next year at this time. So, early spring, late spring. So I can't wait. I'm excited. So all that being said, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. If you guys liked season 4, didn't like it, where you compare it to the rest of the seasons. If you guys like the changes so far from the comic, I know some fans want it to be 100% comic adaptation. Some fans like the changes, all that. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.